Hello, meatbags. Recently, something happened in the land of lolcow watching. Sector Cyrax saw a pretty major, shall we say, eruption. It started with petty drama, stunning mistakes, out-of-control ego, and escalated into Matt St. Helens. Our meatbag was there for some of it and feels lessons can be learned from this. So that is how we're going to approach the drama.
If you've been watching Raxo, you've probably heard him say the name Jay Sinz when talking about his trolls. We still laugh thinking about Raxo casting spells on Jay to try freeing his soul, or some bullshit like that. Ha ha ha, good times. That have been completely ruined, thanks to the revelation that he was secretly involved in watching videos of fresh monkeys being treated poorly, to say the least. Upon seeing this screenshot, the first reaction was, "Holy shit, Jay! You were warned about this kind of edgy, quote-unquote, humor." Less than a minute later, we were in DM with Jay. Side note, Jay is a fan of offensive humor. He made jokes about shit like the Holocaust and his German heritage. As students of history, it's really hard to laugh about it when one knows more about the specifics. He was an equal opportunity offender, so believe the meatbag when he says there was nothing Jay was afraid to joke about. It's important to note, he'd acknowledged times in the past when he went too far. So the meatbag expected the same this time. Here's what happened.
First, it's important to understand that there is one reason we are breaking confidentiality and revealing DMs. He ran away without saying a word. As you can see, the tone was not overly confrontational. If it had been a joke, that would have been the time to say as much. Our meatbag would have had follow-up questions, of course. Who was the joke for? What context? What exactly was the fucking joke? He said nothing. Which, to the meatbag, basically said it all. He was gone, the friendship was over, and all we had was these DMs. Might as well be transparent. Who wants to be loyal to a sicko?
Announcement. This past summer, the meatbag watched a panel Jay was on. The subject turned to people more fucked up than Raxo. Jay piped up with monkey torture lovers. He called them sick fucks and laughed. The meatbag agreed heartily, which is why the initial assumption was that it was a joke. He'd made fun of the sick bastards. This was important because of what the meatbag heard from others who were friends with Jay. Apparently, about a month ago, Jay started telling select people that his kiddo had a problem. The little guy was watching monkey torture videos.
Evidently, when the screenshot went public, he told others he was too busy to respond.
He had to talk to the kid's mom about their son's viewing habits. Right then, right there.
Which not only sounded a tad contrived, but also clashed with what he said on panel this summer.
You okay, HK?
I loathe meatbags that abuse animals. Even joking about it pisses me off. Maintaining my voice is difficult. Moreover, we have to wonder if he wasn't kidding about the shit-eating predator of new people thing either. It's maddening.
It pisses me off so much. Jay knew that fucked up shit was out there and decided to troll Meaty Me. Now Meaty Me must be having the biggest laugh in a long time. You suck, Jay!
Yes, that brings us to our first teachable moment. Are you thinking about getting into cow watching? Feel like you've got what it takes to report on the goblin? Stop right there and find a mirror. Take a good long look at yourself. Do you have secrets, dark secrets? Like when you scoff at Raxo for being a sicko, do you have to forget things in your past or excuse them? If the answer is yes, stop right there. You don't belong here. Eventually you will be found out. And when you are, you will not receive the same pass you've evidently issued yourself. The people here loathe sickos, and being a nice sicko isn't going to help.
Right? Covering people like lull and horror cows requires one to be objectively better than the cows. Nothing pisses people off more than finding out they have been supporting a closet sicko. Nothing. And no matter how well you think you can hide, you will give yourself away. It is inevitable. So make sure you aren't what you intend to cover. Jay could have used that lesson.
So, what caused this to happen? Mount St. Helens had the bulging cryptodome and a fairly good earthquake to kick off its 1980 eruption. What led to the outing in the first place? Like the eruption in 1980, this had signs it was on the way. Over this last weekend, a relatively new player in the Raxo commentary game was preparing to make a series of really bad mistakes. BasedCanadaMan came around looking for folks to go after Marks with some information he found. What he had were a couple of clips from a video claiming Marks to be a PDF. Looking at them, they seemed awfully flimsy. We advised him that only evidence akin to "your turn, cutie" was good enough to go after someone for being a PDF. He evidently missed the message. Looking back, if we had known he got them from a Tibbs TV video, we'd have certainly been more vocal about ignoring the quote-unquote evidence. Bringing us to another teachable moment, L0.
The meatbag spoke to BCM after the eruption a couple of times. It's clear that he had no idea what he was getting himself into. Evidently, one of the people he shared the clips with was Jay, who told him he was on the right track and doing good work. Our meatbag thinks BCM had a bit of dramatic social media fever. BCM had been somewhat involved in the downfall of Hawk Ranger, and he thought Marks was a perfect target based on his information from Tibbs. The meatbag asked the most obvious question: what made you take Tibbs's advice? Dude is a frequent visitor to the mental bounce house. Even if he hadn't been buddy trolls with Raxo in the past, the fact he believes his sex doll is possessed by a spirit and alive pretty much says it all, or something along those lines.
During the first conversation, after the eruption, he was obviously flummoxed. Not only had he found out he chose the wrong source, but he was dealing with another really dumb mistake that had been revealed on the same stream Jay was outed on. He had an adult Discord server and let in a 17-year-old a month shy of his birthday. Teachable moment number 3. If you run a Discord server and cover lol cows like Raxo, whether or not you have an adult server, you should not be allowing anyone under the age of 18 in. Not a month, not a week, not a day, nor hour early. Let's face it, people, lol cows aren't for kiddos. There's Goblin Dick, Arby's roast beef that smells like Wendy's, Poop Squatch, and White Bowser. All topics should be 18 and up only. We've seen multiple Discord servers bring people down because they ended up being overrun with kids and sick content. Back to the eruption, nobody has evidence, or if they do, they haven't shared it, of BCM and the now 18-yo engaging in anything groomy, which he's damn lucky about. We would have cut things off right then if we'd seen such proof. He said he didn't know who Tibbs was, which seemed like a major red flag. Not knowing who Tibbs is like not knowing what a volcano is, and wanting to get into volcanology. So the obvious next question was, how long had you been watching Raxo before you decided to get in the game? BCM said 2020.
2020? How the hell did he miss Tibbs? That was like last year.
It sure was. So we asked how someone watching for about 4 years could have missed something that happened last year. Turns out BCM had taken an extended break from watching Raxo last year while he was building a life for himself. When he was in a position to start watching again, he decided to jump right in without seeing what happened in the last year. Considering 2023 was a landmark year in the Cyrax saga, him jumping in after skipping it would have been akin to someone in a coma waking up after being out for WW2 and thinking nothing changed. Well, I'm off to Berlin to see Nana. She lives on the east side of town. Raxo got his ass kicked by Marty in March, arrested in June, and met Tibbs later in the year. It's a safe bet most of you remember the Tibbs arc. Bringing us to our next teachable moment. Do the fucking research! It's tedious and boring, yes, but without researching, 2 things are likely to happen. First, one is likely to be wrong more often than not, which will in turn make folks lose interest in one's content. Don't be that guy. Check your facts, do some legwork. Mistakes are bound to happen anyway, but the less research you do, the more likely they are. And the more likely they'll be incredibly stupid, which is what BCM did.
At first, he wasn't eager to admit where he got the information or who he was working with. We had a hunch we knew the latter. You see, Jay's wife, Kira, also made a PDF call-out video on Marks, using the same info as BCM. One doesn't need to be Sherlock Holmes to see the connection, especially since BCM said he hadn't been directly in touch with Kira. And wouldn't you know it, early this week when the meatbag cruised into a familiar server, he found Kira arguing with, well, everyone. They all said her video was bullshit. It was only going to start regarded drama, and other results that would essentially bring nothing good. Naturally, being interested in only reporting facts or very strong theories, the meatbag joined in. Eventually, she relented and deleted her video. Too late, as it turned out.
At around the same time we were telling her to can her video in another server, another creator was trying to approach BCM about how shitty his evidence was, which turned out to be incredibly ironic. Marks, or someone he knew, took a screenshot of Bubo the Mad Jester telling BCM to check his DMs. Marks and friends evidently came to the conclusion that Bubs was in on the allegations. Unfortunately, Bubs has been doxxed and is no longer responding to DMs. However, from talks the meatbag has had with him in the past, we're fairly certain Bubs was trying to talk BCM out of going forward with the PDF Marks video. Or perhaps to take it down depending on when BCM posted his video. It's gone and the meatbag never saw it. Newsflash, BCM kept the DM. Here we have a screenshot confirming that Bubs was indeed trying to shut it down, not encouraging BCM to go after Marks. Looks like Marks has been chasing down someone who was actually trying to protect Marks. We'd feel awfully stupid if we were Marks. But we aren't so. Time will tell what, if anything, he does with this information. The only part we censored was about Bubs' living situation. He may already be doxxed, but we don't want to make things worse by mentioning specifics. From our conversations with BCM, we don't see him being able to fake this. We looked quite carefully before modifying it for signs of fakery. Out-of-place pixels, like when EDP tried faking emails with the folks who caught him in a pathetic attempt to change the narrative. Everything looks kosher. Both people write like themselves, so we are confident this is the real deal.
Don't get us wrong. We're not trying to say Bubs was trying to jump on a grenade for Marks or anything like that. The point is, Bubs thought BCM was poking a bear rather than taking down a PDF. Which brings us to our next teachable moment. If you're here to cover cows, cover the cows. Don't go looking for other creators to take down simply because you don't like their content. Drama breeds drama, and often there are unforeseen consequences. Moreover, drama can be addicting. Let's go back to Hawk Ranger. He himself had a hand in taking down a community member he got into a beef with. After that, he continued looking for trouble, and he found a new beef with Jack Rance. The dispute was really dumb. We don't pay close attention to drama usually, so when we saw Hawk up on Marty's panel, reading a response from Jack in the most Lockow way possible, we checked out. Not long afterward, we saw that BCM had involved himself in taking down Hawk Ranger. So when we declined going after Marks with the shitty evidence BCM showed, and he proceeded anyway, it seems like BCM had the same drama disease that Hawk did. Thus, be advised, pursuing drama is a mistake if you've come to cover lull and horror cows.
Naturally, a portion of this needs to be devoted to Marks. We're not terribly familiar with the guy, can't recall having seen any videos he's made. However, he certainly deserves better than being accused of being a PDF based on Tibbs's out-of-context shit. Nobody deserves that. For what it's worth, we think the standard necessary to call someone a PDF should be based on Raxo. Kate caught him fair and square. We feel like everyone in the community can all certainly agree on that. So to discourage any future BCMs and establish a standard the community can agree on, we think anyone giving advice to noobs should stress this standard.
For the meatbag's part, he thinks the whole situation was goddamn ridiculous. Evidently, the reason BCM, Kira, and Jay couldn't stand Marks is because Marks basically just goes around shitting on content creators who cover Raxo. It's not hard seeing a guy like that make enemies who are willing to come after him with even the most flimsy evidence. Apparently, that's what the three of them did, though. The meatbag doesn't condone going after critics. That's a rather quick path to being a lolcow in one's own right. If, as a content creator, you don't want to hear criticism, you need to consider either toughening up or finding something else to do. On the flip side, if one is being unfairly criticized, the best thing to do is to simply ignore it, unless it's obviously incorrect and can be easily disproven. We've had more than one person post a critical comment, which is directly refuted in a video or article. It's always great fun to highlight the part the critic obviously missed. However, that is the only exception.
He is still going after Meaty Me commentators. In the Meatbag's comments, he said Bubs and Bishop were next. Evidently, he got Bubs. As we said, Bubs has bounced. Ironic considering he tried to actually help Marks. We know Bubs didn't like Marks, so we find it remarkable that he actively tried to intervene for him. We also know Bishop isn't a Marks fan, but likewise also didn't support the campaign Jay, Kira, and BCM embarked upon. Marks, we don't know what your deal is. Whether you think only certain people should be able to cover Raxo or no one. Out of curiosity, let's imagine you are successful in what you seem to be doing. What will you do if all other creators in the Raxo sector leave? Start covering him yourself? Move on to another sector of the cow community? Retire, comfortable in the knowledge that you single-handedly rescued Cyrax from the trolls?
Indeed, your endgame is somewhat baffling. However, you seem to be under the impression people are actively out to get you. We can say without hesitation that you're wrong. Oh, sure. If good evidence were uncovered that you're hiding a sick past, we'd treat you the same way we did Jay. Pretty sure you'll find most people agree with that policy. Sickos don't get a pass. Jay was incredibly stupid to go out starting drama, especially with his dark past floating out on the internet to be found. Sooner or later, you're bound to run into someone who will dig up dirt on you. To be clear, that's not us. Frankly, the meatbag simply doesn't care about shit-flingers.
So there you have it. The story of how a clueless noob, a sicko hiding his past and his wife, conspired to go after the person who hurt their feelings and said mean things about their friends. On the surface, it might have seemed like they were doing right, BCM especially. For the meatbag, he is like Sergeant Fackler from Police Academy, shown here. Everywhere he went, he accidentally screwed something up. Whether it was using Tibbs as a source, ignoring advice about his evidence, deleting or ignoring comments from folks, or outright blocking them, pretty much everything he did was really, really dumb. After taking a bit to let it sink in, he told me he accepts that opinion. Moreover, he's decided to leave reporting on Raxo to others. It's sad because he really did have good intentions for the most part. He agrees that his actions are a good lesson in what not to do. On a side note, we did suggest he lose the based part of his name, as based people tend to be well-based, and the things he did were most certainly not. Keeping it would be tantamount to accepting a lolcow label. We hope he has better luck in whatever he chooses to do next. As for Jay, what can we say? The only thing left is don't trust that people who disapprove of Raxo are free of sicko secrets. Jay always gave the meatbag a strange vibe, which was easily chalked up to his gothy fashion and extremely offbeat sense of humor. In retrospect, those things were the perfect camouflage. How could one tell what was a sick joke and what was just sick? In the future, we will all be more vigilant that while weird isn't necessarily sick, it can go a long way to hide a sick nature. In retrospect, we suspect that he was worried about this information being found. That incident this summer when he called out monkey torture, and we strongly agreed, might have been his first move to try softening any eventual discovery. Perhaps he thought, after that, he would be able to say he was simply trolling or trying to expose them. Later, he may have worried that wasn't going to be enough and decided to try shifting the blame to someone else, his kiddo. When the meatbag confronted him, Jay may have remembered how strongly the meatbag agreed with the notion of such people being sick fucks, which would absolutely ruin the new excuse he was trying to set up. After all, if he had said it was really his son, he probably knew the next question would have been something like, "So wait, you mean to tell me you not only called your son a sick fuck, but laughed about it? WTF?" Which would explain why, no matter how non-confrontational the approach, he knew he had to flee. He had worked himself into a corner and realized that we could ruin the switch. Or perhaps he realized how twisted blaming one's own son would be. Either way, the experience has thoroughly soiled his reputation. The only question left is, did Kira know? If she didn't, our heart goes out to her. She just married the dude on Halloween. She's fixing to have his baby next month. How fucked up would it be to find out the person you just built a life with enjoys watching animals suffer? If she did know, then things get even darker. She is a veterinary technician. We don't know where, but the thought of someone working with animals who knows her husband is sick makes the meatbag a bit sick. But then there is the ultimate question: if she knew, did she overlook it, or was she in on the fun too? We shouldn't need to draw a diagram to show why the thought of an animal abuse fan working on our dog makes our blood and hydraulic fluid run cold. This question will linger a long time.
Let's finish on a happier note. We want to thank Vinny Slanderino for his help in sorting this out. He requested a shout-out to Happy Doggo. After looking into them, that seems quite appropriate. This channel isn't monetized, nor do we plan to. However, if you felt like donating to Happy Doggo, that would be awesome. Thank you for watching. We hate drama, so videos like this will be extremely rare. See you soon for a bit more about Potato, and of course new Raxo when he resurfaces.
And in humble surroundings, much like the potato itself. Raised in an environment where hard work and...
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll make it better. I don't know what's going on here. We need the woman voice. Can you guys better listen to a woman or a man? Let's listen to Tim Dooley's story by Sharon.
Newton's first law of motion, also known as the law of inertia, it states that an object at rest stays at rest, and the early days, a seed in the soil. Tim Dewey's journey began in humble surroundings, much like the potato itself. Raised in an environment where hard work and introspection were necessities, he cultivated an appreciation for